Is BGMI or Free Fire gonna come back?
If you're playing cricket, your end goal for any cricketer,
They competed and they lost.
Okay.
Right. And they put the name as 7C Esports.
Welcome to High Talks with Mujtaba Ahmed and Himanshu Gupta. Once again, we are here for you guys. Much, we have something crazy today. We have a guest who has done way too much that made introduction will be covered nahi hota. So, should we bring him on with a quick introduction?
yes.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, today we have a man who wears many hats, literally a hat collector. He's the director of Ampers and founder of 7 Seas Esports. A man with a resume so impressive it could double as a novel. Please welcome Santosh, the Swiss Army knife of the gaming industry. Welcome, Santosh.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your time and opportunity.
Come on, man. It's our this thing privilege to have you on this podcast.
It's a pleasure to have you on,
Yes.
Santosh.
Yeah, so Santosh, the entire industry knows you. Okay, 7C is not a name that anyone can forget if they're in the esports world. Every gamer does know it. Um, so I would like to go to the start of how the 7C came around, because I think majority of the people are like, okay, esports organization banana hai hame life mein. We have an audience, but they're not able to take it where you have taken it. So just getting the groundwork of what was your preparation like and how you've got it till here would be insane.
Well, see, I think in 2016, that's when my first introduction to esports happened. During that time, one of my actual classmates, it was my MBA classmate, and he already had a team in Thailand. And he was struggling with finances, and he asked me to like, can I bring some investors or can I invest in his company? And we were just talking about his what his business is, what his business model is, right? So at that until that point, I was just a casual gamer. That's when I started my first investment. Within 8.5, we could raise money, and uh, we make it a big esports organization in Thailand, right? So when that happened, at the same time, I also have the same version that I wanted to do it in South Asia. Immediately, I couldn't jump into India because the games that I was interested in was PUBG Mobile. That was probably around what 2018 or maybe 2019. I was also trying to play the game, and I was just thinking what would be the right strategy to come to India, right? We cannot just go without testing the market. So we were so during that time when I was playing, I used to get connected with South Asia server, but in which I couldn't play with any of Indians, but I used to play with people from Nepal, people from Singapore, people from Vietnam, and all that. So at the time, I connected with a bunch of kids uh, from Nepal, right? And
Okay.
they were like, "Hey, we want to compete ourselves," and they competed and they lost. Uh,
Okay.
right? And they put the name as 7C Esports, right? After that, I was just, they became friends with me and they were talking to me. That's when I realized these guys play very good, right? Competitively, they are playing very good. And at the time, I asked, hey, what is your biggest challenge? And then they explained me, hey, we don't have proper devices, we don't have proper internet connection. One guy is sitting in Japan, another guy is sitting in Australia, and three guys are playing from Nepal, right? So they explained their story. So I see there is a talent in the kids, and then I help them start the whole thing, right? So I funded the team, I funded everything. That's how I became one of the one of the co-owners for 7C Sports. Right. So I know what are the challenges that needs to be there because by the time when I started 7C, the other company that I invested with my friend is already $1 million baby, right?
Okay.
Now that now that team is under a different banner. I couldn't put anything because now I don't have any stakes over there. So that's how I decided. That's how I want to build 7C. Then we started in Nepal. Then we expanded ourselves to Bangladesh. Then after into Sri Lanka. And then we started a Codem roster first in India before getting into BGMI. And by the time we were getting into BGMI, I mean, PUBG Mobile was banned at that time. So we waited for a few more months. During this time, I also started looking for investors. I also started looking for people who wants to come to India, but they don't have an easy entry point. At the same time, I was talking to multiple investors, what would be the right strategy. And since behind my back, I already made about $1 million within the esports industry. So many investors and many people, right? Oh, this is the guy we want to work with. But yeah, I do have about some 7, 8 offers at the time, but I chose, I was looking more of a strategic partner rather than
Mhm.
just an investor, right? That means strategic partner generally brings in not just only money, but also their expertise, their knowledge. That's when I met Ampver's founders, right? They are ex-Twitch, what do you say, ex-Warner Brothers, and one
Okay.
of the co-founders who used to manage Rihanna and Justin Bieber. Uh,
Okay.
and one of the another founder was actually, I mean, he used to be the head of marketing for Twitch, or he used to take care of the Twitch division in Southeast Asia. So they have a pretty strong resume when compared to me, and they had experience with influencer marketing. They had experience with building IPs. They have experience in building strong esports rosters, right? So at the time in their portfolio, they have vacant time. This was all happening in early 2020, right? So they have vacant time in their roster, and they were planning to expand into other esports organizations that Amphos want to buy. And we saw a vision where how India could be when it comes to esports, right? So today, maybe at that time, I mean, I'm talking about 2019 or 2020. So we were thinking that maybe Indian market is not as regulated because there was no investor money coming in. People are just like out of passion they are doing it, but they are not doing it as in a professional capacity.
Mhm.
Or
Correct.
bringing in like VC money into this and making it as a full corporate company, right? So that's how we saw it, and that's when we jumped into. So that means um, there is a way that we can develop it and put it like in a professional organization where we can bring VCs money into the picture, or investors, so we can come from abroad and also see it, right? It's
Hmm.
so everything was in a proper legalized channel that we want to build, and that we want to show a strong case, not just only, I mean, like by seeing 7C, there would be many investors that would be coming on board with multiple esports organizations, right? So that's the thought at that time. And also we see that India market, because they have about 400 million gamers, that including casual, professional, semi-professional people that are there, right, between the age groups of 13 to 30 years of age, which is a solid number to take, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
So that means the key is that influencer marketing. The key is that there are a lot of influencer marketing that could happen, and there could be a lot of influencers who are gamers, who are lifestyle content creators, who are musicians that many people don't know, but to a limited set of group through their YouTube channels. And also, we want to grow their revenue models, and we want to generate opportunities that are way beyond the esports organization, right? Just having an esports roster is not going to suffice. That's how we see it, right? So we had a perfect blueprint that when we were working in Thailand, where we have esports rosters, we have sponsors, we have content creators, we have influencers um, outside of the gaming industry, and we developed this within a very short period of time. Since the founders have a very keen idea on what they want to do. So in 7C today, right, we did the same thing. Now, 7C could be not just an esports organization, it is more of a 360 degree of gaming, right? So that it would get into, see, we already entered into influencer marketing, and of course the same thing what we have done in Thailand, right? So we took lifestyle content creators. Now it would be like probably the next step for us is more into attracting, investing into like game publishing companies. That could possibly happen in the future, right? So that means we own our own studios here, or we support some Web3 gaming companies, and build Web3 games in Indian market, right? So these are some of the things that we are exploring. But we don't know what future holds. But yeah, we are making multiple bets in India.
Well, that's great. I'm hoping that how 7C is going, high tournaments will become part of it. Like we will come around. Like if you guys ever need help, we're always there, obviously.
Sure, sure, of course. Anytime we want to do any tournaments of scale, right? So we'll be happy to collaborate.
100%. So Santosh, that was really insightful. But I want to get to the basics. Are you a gamer? Can we categorize you as a gamer?
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Right.
Would you say you are a professional gamer?
Yes.
That is the key question.
Actually, I do play semi-professional tournaments. Right. So
Okay.
before I was playing PUBG Mobile. Right. So it's not just a casual gamer. I met my co-founder Sajid while playing. Right. So he was living in Australia since I used to get Southeast Asian servers. So somehow we connected. And the worst part is
Okay.
that we both are from the same state. We can speak the same language. And I never met that guy in life, to be honest. Right? So until this last December, that's the first time. Up 2019, we met online, and
Yeah.
2022 we met face to face.
In person for the first
Okay.
time. Wow.
That's bad.
So at the time, see, we both have different traits, right? So maybe on the leadership side, I would be a good personality, and he's more of a coach, a mentor kind. And he used to mentor. So during the match itself, he used to build strategies, and we were like, okay, Sajid, I want to start this with these kids that are based out of Nepal, and I want you to be the coach for this team. Like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, but he asked me, hey, why do you think that I would be a good coach? And somehow, see, by the time I already have about some 10 years of experience working in multiple companies. Somehow I have a knack for people because I used to hire people as well for my past companies. So I gave him my explanation that, hey, you know what, I see that how you are building strategies within the game itself, right? So I think if we do it in a professional way, we can also learn, and this could be something for us. Okay, sure, let's do it, right?
Okay, Santosh.
That's how we do.
Similar to that, in developing strategies from professional experience into gaming, have you been able to develop strategies within gaming that you've been able to take to a professional experience?
So see, since I gave him you can call me more of a corporate guy, right? I
Mm,
understand how the companies work. I understand how to build teams, how to build bond between teams, right? So I was kind of the bad cop always, right? People
mm,
see, for an 18-year-old kid, you talk about Scrum, or you talk about, right? If every day when we come to the game, 10 minutes we need to discuss about what we want to do. Nobody likes that, right? It was
Yeah.
challenge. It was challenge. So since me kind of coming from the software industry background, we used to, I mean, and I was a certified coach at that time, right? I was an agile coach, and I used to train software engineers on how to collaborate with each other, right? And how to build products by having fun within the organization, and how to be professional at the same time. So I used to be a senior program manager and a certified coach. So I used to train certified professionals there. So now I need to train and 17-year-old, sometimes 16-year-old kids to be at a professional level. So that was a challenge. right? I try to be the bad cop, where Sajid try to be the good cop over there, right? And we tried and tested many things what would fit a routine. And before doing all of this, right, since 2016, I have seen one of my friends working within the organization and what he has went through. So he has his experiences that also helped me to build a strong team, right? So in 7C, it is always like this, right? So once you get up, once you have done your preparation for the game, the first thing is that there will be a meeting that we discuss what we want to do, what kind of tournament we are playing, what are the mistakes that we have done yesterday, how are we planning to do today, and where can we improve, right? So these are the three basic questions that every player has to answer for himself and for the team, right? At the same time, so that's we call it a stand-up meeting, right? So if you see Scrum in outside in the software industry, we basically have a daily stand-up, right? And then
Okay.
a review retrospective session, and a daily planning, right? So these are some of the things that we have over there, and we adopted some of the best practices that software industries people are using, and we put it in our team. And first 1 2 months, it was a challenge. People don't respect time, especially kids of 16 17 years of age. They don't really respect time, right? It was crazy. But we used to make them happen, and then we used to build a purpose around them, right? What is the purpose of playing, right? You are not just playing for fun anymore. You are playing to play for your country, right? And you want to represent your country, right? So that's how we indulged that fierce, aggressive competition. Like we have to grind it to them every day. It's not just inside the game here you play well, you did good, wonderful, fantastic, but you need to give them a larger purpose, right? And so we built that larger purpose for them, and that's how I think the first tournament with an underdog team, to be honest, I think we came about third ranked within the
Okay.
tournament, right? Or fourth, if I'm not remember right.
Mm. And this was a BGMI game.
This is PUBG Mobile, the PUBG Mobile.
PUBG.
It's not even
Okay.
for PUBG South Asia,
Yeah.
and we played PNPN. We got #4 and then #3. Um, that's when the whole India thing happened, and our investors were like, "Hey, you need to focus on very specifically to in India, but not in other countries." That's when we changed our genre and we left Nepal and Bangladesh, and we pretty much focused only in India from there on.
Mm. And why India is
See, India as a market, it is always very strong, right? It is, see, the number of people you cater here is too big, man.
mm,
And compared to India, maybe in other regions, the opportunities would be very less, right? Because of many things, right? So I don't want to get into detail. So we see that there is a potential to make revenue. At the same time, there is a potential to grow business at scale, right? If any company we have an investor, right? So or if there are multiple investors that are coming in, they would typically look at the opportunity that an founder is actually offering to them, right? It's not just about, hey, you know what, I'll just give you some sponsorship money, or I'll just give you some money. It's done. Since, as I said in the beginning, right, we want to run everything in a corporate style. So we need to understand what are the challenges that we're going to go through. We need to understand what kind of opportunity we have, and what kind of revenues that we can bring within the country, and what kind of growth pattern. Like, so the 3 years business plan I have to provide, and
Hmm.
I did, right? So, and I have to make sure those numbers match up when years pass through, right?
mm,
So we went through all of that. That's when we see that India has that potential when it coming to the numbers that we can grow. Within Nepal and Bangladesh, Usna was not in that pipeline as of at that time. But yeah, or maybe over a period of time, maybe we can see that. But if you look at all the Ampus portfolio businesses, we are like Bacon Time is just in Thailand only, right? SPTC is in Vietnam only, and
mm,
Minana is in Philippines only, right? So The idea is that we want to culturally develop a brand that is more relevant to the audience over there. We don't want to just develop brands just like that, right? So if you look at it, even MITH Made in Thailand, which is one of the oldest esports organizations in Nepal, they are part of First Group. They are very specifically for Thailand itself. Right, so
Okay.
that's how, right, if when we are taking a brand, we want to develop that specific brand for that kind of audience who are more interested and more connected with, right? That's a different thing, right? So we don't want to be a phase, or we don't want to be a TSM, right, where TSM operates in
Hmm.
multiple countries with multiple rosters.
Okay.
Wonderful, but it's just what we see as a challenge today is that every day people are connecting with, not just, even though they are connected internationally, they want to support something that is very local to them, right? So that is how we feel that we want to be a local flavor rather than just an international brand coming from here.
Well, makes sense. Yeah,
Hmm.
it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
If we want to work with, let's say, a local brand over here in India, right? So Panasonic India is different from Panasonic Japan, right? Because they have their
Hmm.
operations, they have
Indeed.
their budgets over here, and they do things over here, right? Even it's the same with McDonald's, right? So if you see KFC, KFC in Thailand or in Southeast Asia, they are pretty big in terms of providing sponsorships to esports organizations. But that's not the same in India today,
That's correct. Yeah.
right? So that's the reason we don't want to be a single brand that represents everything, all of our identity, but rather we have brands that we want to grow, even though we are a global company, but we want to grow the brand specific for the region itself so that people are more loyal to it, right? Hey, this is an Indian brand, right? So that pride itself is something that we wanted to have, and that is how we are building it.
Gotcha.
Alright, perfect. But out of all this, I realized one thing for sure. By how so Mujtaba and I, we got into the esports industry over the first lockdown 2020, and we were also playing casually. We thought we became semi-professional, but right now I realize we did, because before going into any match, like the only thing we would do is either pray to God or we take a shot. Well, like these two strategies worked. But I think that's why much we couldn't become professional now.
There was a lack of scrum, lack of project management at the time.
Exactly.
So for us, it is more like this, right? So we used to download the maps and we used to point out where the teams are going to land, what is the strategy, how to beat them in their own game. Uh, oh man, there used to be, I mean, like, so 9 to 6 is kind of my job, or 8 to 5 is my job, and 5 to, I don't know, morning 3, morning 4, sometimes no sleep for the next day, right? So we used to get involved, and Sajid has about 5.5 hours difference, sorry, 6 hours difference from Nepal. I have about 1.5 hour something from Nepal, right? There's a time difference, and we are communicating with the guys, and the
Yeah.
team captain is sitting in some other country in Japan, and the vice captain is sitting in Australia. Oh man, so we all used to fight. But yeah, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that uh, somehow we we built the culture of winning. We built the culture of being competitive. We built the culture of being being to be aim to be a number one within that, right? So we built a very strong, or a fierce team at that time, and the same, that pattern when we moved to India also, we built it. But here the challenge is that everything that was online today, now in India everything is offline, right? So everybody's sitting at one place and we need to manage
Yeah.
them. So that is even tougher, right? Because now people
Hmm.
will have egos, right? So when somebody says something
Yeah.
during the match, you can talk about it outside immediately, face to face, right? So
Yeah.
now those are other challenges that we have to face. But yeah, we did manage to get over that. There were bad days, there were bad tournaments where we became last, or we were eliminated in semifinals, quarterfinals sometime. But by finishing about a year, right? So we started in June 2020, sorry, July 2021. About 15th or 16th that we announced our roster. By July 2022, we are on our way to Riyadh
Okay, that's
by
great.
becoming India champions. So it took us a year to send this team to play professionally among the best teams out there.
That's great. So, well, we all know PUBG got banned first, then BGMI got banned, now Free Fire got banned. So, what are we looking like? What do you think? Like, first of all, what is happening? We all know why it's happening is because of the China intervention and everything. But I feel that has really affected the growth of esports in India because majority of the players have to use VPN to either play the game because India servers gone pretty much.
I kind of have a different take in it, right? So
Okay, let's go for it.
industry cannot stand alone with one game or two
Correct.
games, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's put it like this, right? Maybe Apple would be number one, just for example, say Apple would be number one or Samsung would be number one. But that doesn't mean that there are other players in the market, right?
True.
So the same way, maybe BGMI is number one or Free Fire is number two, or vice versa. But the fact is
Mm-hmm.
that there are multiple games to play, right? We can talk about today. The Valorant scene is pretty good, right? With the announcement of CS:GO 2, maybe CS:GO will be revived in India, right? Sky Esports is kind of making some announcements that they want to bring a CS:GO league, right? And then there's a Valorant league that is happening today, right? Probably Dota also will pick up at some point, and we have seen games like FIFA, Tekken, right? Everything is getting recognized today, right? That is because the government itself has recognized in December, January, where they were given importance to the AV series sector, and the government has recognized that esports is something that is needed, right? So
Correct.
we cannot build, yeah. So initially it was built on a single game, but within the next 2 3 years, it's not just going to be one single title. There could be multiple titles. Yes, fan bases may differ, right? That maybe we call it this is number one game of India, this is number two game of India, but that number one game has opened multiple doors that hey, you know what, there is esports and there is an opportunity where people can see this as an alternative career, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now people across the world know about the players from North America, players from Europe, right? Because of the games itself. Now that games are actually getting popular in India, and now the younger generation today, the Gen Zs and Gen Alphas, they are also taking it seriously. You know, this is a career that we can actually make, right? If I'm
Mm.
not just serious about the game, but if I'm good enough, and if I'm the top 0.01% of the country, you know what, I can actually represent my country, right? That's a pride.
Very true.
Uh, so uh, I may not have the best player, but it's a team game at the end of the day, right? So most of the esports teams are team games. As long as I could build a team that is strong enough to complement each other, right? There's a shot to get a title, right? That's what we believed in. So our initial thought was to, hey, we want to represent India in a global stage, right? So through VGMI we did it, wonderful. Now we're like, hey, how can we win the title for a world championship, and what kind of games we need to get into in order to get there, right? So maybe today, in the next 2 3 years, maybe we may not win, or maybe we will be in the top three podium finish, right? So we want to get to that podium finish, or we want to get to the top five, and then there is a shot for India, right? So that's what going through us, and today we will be effectively getting into Counter Strike first, and then if BGMI is back, maybe we'll BGMI. And there are games like Pokemon Unite is getting popular today in the mobile gaming space, right? So maybe that, right? So there are n number of opportunities when it comes to esports today. But 2 years or 3 years before, that's never been the case in India.
Mm-hmm. And so Santosh, have you seen this as part of the dynamic shift? So, for example, if you're playing cricket, your end goal for any cricketer is to be able to play for your country, right? You start with local leagues, you play Ranji Trophy, You want to play in the IPL, but you want to play for your country, you want to play in the World Cup for your country. Right? That's the end all be all goal typically, even when it comes to football. Are you seeing this for gamers that okay, you start off as a gamer, you're playing in smaller leagues, and you're playing in larger scale tournaments, and is that like a core drive for gamers?
See, let's put it like this, right? In India, sorry, or yeah, maybe we were a little bit backward in terms of esports today, and when it comes to the Indian esports organizations, right? But that doesn't mean that we don't have world-class players, right? We do have a world-class players. We do can build world-class teams. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we may not have the best facilities, right? Today, the organizations have some of the best facilities that is available, right? And people, the investors or the esports organizations, they're putting heavy in building those facilities for the players, right? Maybe in the next 5 years, it could be even bigger facilities that we can provide to the players to get to reach the top level, right? And it's just only a matter of time. See, that's what I believe, right? Like cricket has World Cup, football has its World Cup. Even every game has its kind of its own World Cup in the gaming space, right? So Fortnite
Right.
has its own, PUBG Mobile has its own, BGMI will have its own, right? And then after there is Valorant, there is CS:GO, right? There is Dota 2, right? So there are a number of games, right? So first, the gamer will be that the person would be choosing his kind of a game what he wants to compete in, and becomes the best in it, and be the topper of the country or the top team in the country, and then yeah, we have an opportunity. There is a roadmap laid out by the publishers itself that hey, this is the roadmap for you to get to here, right? And that has been kind of clearly laid. Previously, it was there only for CS:GO or Dota 2. That's about it, right? So, but now there are multiple titles, multiple games, multiple genres that we can play, right? And we can build a world-class teams depending on what we see is more success for us.
Well, sounds perfect.
So, Santosh, you spoke about game developers and how you want to focus on investments within game developers, specifically in India. So, as we know, majority of the game developers are in the US, right, or internationally, and that's what the data tells us as well. So, what's the expectation towards game developers in India? Are we there already? Is that something that needs to be developed? And how's the focus around that? And how's the approach?
Well, you see, at least to the world today, India is one of the countries that are actually providing a lot of software developers, right? That including within the gaming industry as well, right? I have met many game developers within India, right? After I came back to India in 2021, my focus was not just only to uh, build 7 series esports, but rather something larger than esports, right? Something how can we develop the game industry together, right? That has given me an opportunity to meet with multiple people who are doing the really cool things, right? So I don't know whether you guys heard about it, but there is a GTA version of a game that is coming for mobile gamers in India
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
right? And within that gaming space, there were about 200 million downloads last year alone,
Hmm.
right? And with the introduction of these kind of games, that casual gaming, and even for content creators, it would be a very good opportunity to explore those areas and uh, build those. I mean, like make better games, right? So that gives a natural boost to the gaming developers or the game developing companies, right? Today, yes, there is such a saga, right? And there is a real cricket. Those are some of the indie games that are actually coming into the market today, depending on the market preferences, depending on the choices that people want to do, right? And I don't know whether it is happening, but yeah, in future we will see real cricket esports tournaments, right? So previously that was happening, and now it's going to go in a large scale as well. Nautilus recently crafted and invested about $5 million or $6 million into this company, and Nautilus are the developers who develop real cricket today. right? Even I believe, not quite sure, maybe Sachin Tendulkar was also invested in this company, I guess, or in their parent company, something like that, right? So that's how real cricket is also there in the market. So what? So there are a lot of bright opportunities within India, right? That's what I see, right? And there are people who need help or who need investments to make it a world-class studios in order to develop these kind of games, right? Again, as I said, we are playing a catch-up. I'm not saying catch-up only in esports, right? We are playing catch-up in multiple things, in which gaming is also one of them, right? So today, people are developing hyper-casual games, which is easy when compared to an app that can produce hours and hours of content, right? So, for example, right, so it's very difficult, right? So, but yes, certainly we may not be there today, but certainly in the coming 2 years, there could be so many casual games that will be coming into the market that would rule India for some time, and then after probably there are. I don't know whether you have seen the last Dubai gaming expo or something. I saw an 18-year-old kid from India became the best game developer, right?
Okay.
Uh, and I happened to meet that person. And he built a game. Uh, he and there is one more developer. There are two people that developed a game which is as equivalent to a CS:GO game,
Oh.
right? They built the game, they built the skins, and they were like just giving us a test run. Um, and I'm pretty much impressed. That guy is still 18 or 17, if I'm not wrong, right? He just finished his plus two or 10th class, I don't know. But yeah, there are really cool people. I'm not just talking about that, right? So I think one of the game that I'm more excited this year is about a game called Maya,
Okay.
right? They are building this the same way as how GTA Vice City is, right? And the best part is that they have people who worked in Rockstar, but they have people who worked in EA, who are actually Indians. They came back to India and
Oh
they are
wow.
developing a kind of game for mobile gamers. And the founders, I think his name is Mayur, if I'm not wrong, right? So they even talked about how can we build a super gaming app that has multiple games within the app itself, right? So there are a number of possibilities, and the people are trying to build their own thing, right? It takes some time, and I'm being very optimistic. That's the reason, even if we have to invest in a Web3 company that is very specifically for gaming, I think it's a good time. It will also allow us to see an alternate revenue streams within the esports sector itself when it comes to gaming. So that's the reason we want to diversify our portfolio, and we want to be more of a 360-degree company that has every kind of investment placed within the gaming segment, right? So that including publishing, tournaments, that including esports division, entertainment, that including content creators, multiple sets of things, so that it gives a perfect way how we can tap into the market, and also gives us an opportunity to explore further and build uh, young entrepreneurs that are coming from India to grow at a larger scale because of the volume that we can bring in, because of the um, audience base that we can in the public, and the reach that we can give to this games. Maybe it is a hyper casual game or esports competitive game, right? So all then be possible, right? So I am being very optimistic in investing in India today.
So in summary, the ability to publish hyper casual games is something that's already there, something that's already prevalent. Casual games, yes, as well, but games of the, let's say, the quality of a God of War, of a Red Dead Redemption, that's something that still needs to be developed. Uh,
Yes, see, today we don't have that much of a bigger companies in India today, right? So I think given time, I believe that we could get there. I believe we could build games that are so cool that we can play on high graphics, just like God of War, as you mentioned it, or Assassin's Creed, like of a game
Mhm.
our Indian developers can develop.
Okay.
Right?
And
It's just that the drive is already there.
indeed, indeed, the drive is there. I think it just needs a bit of more time. Recently, Microsoft acquired Ubisoft, or announced that they're acquiring Ubisoft for around the $3 billion range. When do you think, so if you were to set a timeline for this, right? So we are optimistic that this is something that can happen, but in a timeline wise, when would Microsoft be approaching an Indian gaming publisher to acquire their operations? How do you foresee it?
See, let's put it like this, right? So I think Microsoft team would have a very large part of strategy what they want to do with Ubisoft, right? The same way, if there is a potential game that is actually ruling the Indian market, and that is something that is up for grabs, uh, of course, companies would look into it, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it is Microsoft or any other thing, right? So it's just that if they see it is valuable for them, right? To see, Microsoft just simply just doesn't come and say, you know what, I'm gonna buy. They might have put a lot of deep thought, deep dive into what they want to
A
do
lot of
in the future,
diligence, yeah.
right? How
Yeah.
they want to take this company, what they want to do in this next 20, 10, 20 years, right?
Hmm.
I think like that. There are many Indian companies got acquired. I'm not talking about gaming here, but there were companies that were acquired by American companies or invested in Indian companies, right? Or even there are a lot of VCs actually invested in Indian market, right? Which is pretty solid, right? So as long as we see there is a proof of concept and we see that there is enough revenue that is flowing in through the product that the gamers or the game studios are actually developing, I think they will do have a shot.
Hmm. Very good.
Alright, perfect. I think like something, yeah, actually true. So yeah, Santosh, this was like the serious part of the entire podcast. Now we'll get to the fun side. That is what we're starting today. We haven't done before, but we're like, I think it's required because I was like, if Mujtaba brings the seriousness, I bring the fun part to the podcast, and it's very much essential. We haven't given it a name yet, but I think we'll figure it out.
Mhm.
So yeah, Santosh, these are quick fires, so you can have a one word answer or you can explain as well, based on your call. Okay. So much. All right. Do you want to go first?
No,
Sure.
no,
All right.
take
Sounds
it,
good.
take it ahead.
All right. So Santosh, your favorite game. Let's start there.
My favorite game previously it used to be Serious Sam when I was a kid,
Okay.
or Snake or Tank, right? So Tank we used to play on a console, and Snake game when there is 1100 Nokia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was so confused for a second. I'm like, which snake game are we talking about?
Snake.io.
Yeah.
And I think in 2006 or 2005, when I was playing in cafes, I used to play a game called Serious Sam, and then there used to be another game called Max Payne, right? So
Mhm.
these are some of the games I used to love as a kid. Today, I mean, until a year and a couple of years ago, I used to play BGM or PUBG Mobile a lot. So if it's in mobile in the new generation, that is that. And then after these days, I'm playing Valorant and CS:GO a lot.
Oh, okay, that's great. I think much it's time we all start playing Valorant because that's one game we haven't played till now. We played Apex also when it came out, but Valor is something that we haven't done. It looks very futuristic to be honest. Isliye I was a little like, it is okay. All right, I think we need to play it together then. We'll make a team.
Sure, sure. Why not? Why not?
All right, perfect. Okay, so Santosh, if you had to pick up a Bollywood actor, are you into Bollywood first of all?
Yeah, a little bit, right?
Okay, a little
I'm,
bit.
I'm very serious business kind of a person. So yeah, but
Mm.
yeah, please throw your question.
All right, no worries. Okay, if you had to pick a Bollywood actor to represent Seven Seas, because I see you have a lot of brand this thing ambassadors. I went through the website. I was like, okay, not bad. So, if you had to pick a Bollywood actor, who would it be? If you want.
Um, Maybe Ranveer Singh.
Oh, really?
Mm.
So, why? Because we have heard this a lot. Everyone wants to pick Ranveer Singh.
He's very charismatic, right? So he carries himself very well. He's very well spoken, and I believe he can bring a lot of brand value, right? So he himself is a brand, right? And he carries it with, even though people may see that, hey, he's kind of a fashion icon, he acts well, he carries himself well, he has a lot of positives, right? So anyone within the Bollywood industry, maybe, like, he's a kind of person I would love to go with, I would love to work with, to uplift esports in India.
Well, I think he will
It's
bring that
not
reach.
typically just 7C, it's not just typically 7C, but industry as a whole, right? We need people like that to take it forward.
All right. Amongst your roster, we obviously have a lot of influencers in Seven Seas and Ampers. Who do you think is the like who has a bright future? Your favorite, basically. I'm trying to create some beef.
I try to treat everybody equally. I think when it comes to gaming talent, I see Spraygard and Sarang are two of the. I mean, like, whichever the game they touch, they try to be best in that, right? So have seen these two kids not just only playing BGMI, but I have seen them playing Valorant and reaching the top tier levels in India, right? I think they both have a very bright future, right? When it comes to within the BGMI team that we had in the past.
Perfect. Okay. The question I had for Bollywood. Now I want to ask: Are you into cricket?
Yeah, I love.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Hey, I am the '90s kid, right? So I played cricket when I was a kid. So yeah, go ahead, throw.
All right. So, which cricketer would you pick up if you had to represent Seven Seas? I think that would be interesting.
I mean, like, so let's put it like this, right? So if I am a '90s kid and I have the '90s heart in mind, I would rather see Sachin Tendulkar to be my brand ambassador, right? If I am a craze like today, probably MS or Virat would be the choices, right? Maybe if at all I need to choose one, probably more MS when compared to Virat. Because of his cool calm. I think I'm a kind of a guy who doesn't like to blast myself, and I'm a kind of a guy behind the scenes to get things done. So I think they would fit the bill well for me.
Well, perfect. I think I would have picked the same person, to be honest.
Yeah, Dhoni's calm, cool, collected nature
Yes.
during the last circle would be very appreciated, I think.
But let's put it like this, right? So if at all you need more brand awareness, Virat is a obvious choice, right? Because his Instagram following is like, man.
I think he's the highest followed person in India.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, right. He has about some 225 million or 230 million followers, right? So the reason is that he's an impact person, right? I think if at all I'm a brand, I want to work with somebody, maybe that would change it. So it really tilts me sometime to choose one person. Very hard, very hard, very hard.
It definitely is. Definitely is because like if you look at India, if you think about India, the first person either comes as okay, Dhoni because World Cup जीते थे उसकी वजह से, and then obviously Virat because
Or
he started,
Kapil Dev.
huh?
Kapil Dev also.
Bro, I think
You can't
he's
forget
also a
him.
90s kid, okay?
You can't forget him.
We're not going before that.
So that's what I said, right? So if it is if you're asking as me as a '90s kid, then probably like there is no better person to represent esports that is Sachin Tendulkar, right? So that's what I would see, and yeah, there were rumors recently that even Sachin Tendulkar is coming into esports, right? With the CS:GO league coming in, right? We are just thinking this is the CS:GO league that he is just gonna come with, right? So which would be very interesting. And if there are like many more celebrities or many more cricketers, out of their context or out of passion, they were coming into developing the industry, I think the industry will go even faster.
Perfect. Okay, Santosh, the biggest question of the nation right now is is BGMI or Free Fire gonna come back?
Well, whether it comes or not, it doesn't make much difference to us today. Yes, if it comes, yes, it will give us a 10 boost. But we are optimistic, right? So we would love to come both. We would love to have both the games, both the titles, so that we can put both the titles, teams to compete in those titles, right? Yes, they are the biggest, and it would be a great opportunity, right? I see one day or the other, they would definitely will come.
I think everyone's hoping they do.
Yeah, even if they are not coming, we
We
just have
move
to
on.
accept what it is.
Mm.
Yeah,
I think
because as I
they
said in the beginning, a game should not define the
100%.
esports.
I think it's time gaming developers work on that aspect. Okay, whether BGMI comes back, whether Free Fire comes back, let's have our own BGMI. I think they tried it with 4G, but didn't work out. But I think it's time to try it again. Learn from the mistakes and do it again.
Yes, yes. Obviously, see, game titles are like this, right? So if you see the history of CS, right, it's quite huge, right?
Hmm.
And then there is Dota. Now recently Valorant, right? So and there are like League of Legends, right? So there are so many game titles. And India also will have those kind of opportunities, and probably Indian developers also will see that about the popularity and how they can develop. And of course, they will do it one way or the other. It's just a matter of time, patience, and of course, right guidance to those founders who are actually trying to build cool games like that.
Yeah, because I kind of missed the vibe. Because like one thing we did after the lockdown got over was 10 of us would arrive at one friend's place. We'd go into COD mobile lobbies. Now we don't do it because like everyone's busy. But like we'd start our own private lobby. 10 of us in the same room playing against each other. That was insane fun. And I did the same thing when I was in college as well. When I was in India.
We did the same thing with Among Us, but then that got a bit awkward.
Yeah,
It didn't work out the same way.
a lot of friendships got broken.
Those are some of the things that define the love for gaming from people like us, right? So, yeah, it's just a phase, right? So even I did that, right? There is no shame in talking about it, to be honest. Even today, when I was sitting in the boot camp, we used to create our own BGMI, and we used to walk around the map, and we used to figure out, hey, this is the place to take a fight, and like let's fight here,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
It's like management versus esports players, the kind of
Okay.
the things we used to
Ah.
do, and then we used to mix match with some esports players, some management team playing together, and we were taking fights at a second position, right? It always creates healthy competition, and at the same time, it also creates a kind of bond. That's the reason today, if you look at many esports organizations, right? So once they played for certain organization, they would like to stick to them, unless it is motivated by money.
Well, that's
Mm.
true. I think Mujtaba also decided, like, once we started the high talks, in the middle, like, we were very connected with our Discord. We were doing a lot over there. We still are, but that time, Muj and I would sit personally and actually talk around. So a lot of people were like, we would like to see the co-founders have a snipers match. We were like, okay, let's do it. We were ready. Then we actually sat and we were recording it. And then I got destroyed. So it never came on YouTube. I'm like, it's never getting there. Uh,
I used to be a lot of I mean, in the beginning, when we are building the community, right? I used to spend about an hours and hours of time on Discord, right? Because we don't used to use Google or Google Meet or Skype or calls. We rather do it on Discord because that's where the players love to go.
Yeah.
And also to find scrimmages and all, right? So it was very easy. It's like a one-stop solution.
okay.
So we developed our own server over there, and yeah, it was pretty much fun and exciting. So yeah,
Oh,
so I
yeah.
think I think everybody goes through that phase, right? If you're a gamer or you're in the esports industry, those are some of the things you should mention in your kind of a resume to call yourself. Yeah, you are an esports now. That's
100%. Okay, last question, Santosh. Okay, any any this thing like one liner as a motivator to a upcoming esports athlete, you might say, or like someone working in even like the marketing segment of esports or production segment.
A word of wisdom.
Yeah, word of wisdom. That's what I was wondering. What is the word I was supposed to say? Yeah.
see, I the most important thing for me is hard work, right?
Hmm.
And somehow I don't know who mentioned it. Hard work pays off, right? So it did for me, right? It is my personal experience. So whatever I do, when I put my mind to it, I would like to get it done. and I would like to see a light at the end of the tunnel, right? So I try to work as much hard as I can, and I try to do the same thing with all my employees that are working under me or working for me, right? Second thing I always do is that whatever you earn, don't spend. Right. I used to give financial tips, not just to my esports players, but also to all the colleagues, employees. Right. So where to save money and how to invest, whether it is in debt fund or mutual fund or stock market or gold bonds, whatever it is. Right. So whatever that is coming, that is good in the market, I try to encourage them to save as much as they can, so that they can, you know. They can start that, right? Or even a provident fund. So I
Okay.
try to help them out.
Any stock we should invest in?
Not a good time, but see, currently the market is kind of volatile in India today. I would rather see you are putting your savings in a debt fund or a gold bond, or any government-backed funds would be a high priority, right? Or you can maybe see like a small case apps. Some of these are coming where they will
Okay.
invest in a bunch of stocks, right? So just don't go with the what they're promising. Hey, there are about 17%, 18%, but just do your research and do a kind of market research, where whether these companies are going to make money or not, right? So as long as we have some understanding of financial markets, it's a good place to go. If not, debt funds or gold bonds are always the safest bets.
Safest.
Chalo, I'm going. I think my investments in Tesla should stay there. That's all I have at the moment. Yeah.
Investment in Tesla is kind of like this, right? So yes, it has a very good market cap, right? But let's put it like this, right? So whenever a company is doing so well and the share value is already swollen so big that I don't think it cannot beat that, right? So there is always a breaking point, there is always a breaking point where that is the biggest market capitalization that they could acquire, and somehow Tesla already have that, right? So I don't see it may regain to its former glory where it has a high value of stock. So that's not going to happen. It's very hard.
Selling it right now. Selling all of it right now.
Selling, see, let's put it like this, right? So let's say you invested $1, and as long as you are okay that the dollar is coming back, that is good to take today. The reason being is that the American economy is slowing down. So I don't see any futuristic or any good growth. So play caution, right? That's the reason I was saying more about gold bonds or government bonds, government-backed bonds today, because at the end of the day, the government is going to survive, but not a company so easily, right? Like for example, if you invest in Adani stocks in last year, you would have made a ton of money, and even when the market was crashed, like you could have sold it off on the 15th one, and you still
Okay.
do made a ton of money, which happened to me, anyway. So the facts is that today financial market is kind of risky, because we don't know because of the volatility, but that's the reason if you go with a debt fund or a gold bond or government backed funds, at least the government gives you a guarantee, and as long as like anything more than 7%, right? So today, if you're doing a fixed deposit, you're getting about 7% or 6.5%, right? Anything that beats that is extra money that we are making.
Let's see. Yeah. So yes, this podcast was filled with esports insights, advices. I think we can put it as a finance podcast also. Thank you so much, Santosh, for coming on. It was a pleasure. It was a blast, and I think we couldn't have asked for a better person to come on. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
very much, guys. I wish you
Thank
a
you,
wonderful
Santosh.
day. Yeah, take care.